We all getting a lot of advice. The advice is coming from anywhere. Even we just get a phone, Instagram, we scroll, we get advice. We go to YouTube, we get a lot of advice. We go to Facebook, we get a lot of advice. Advice everywhere, because there's a bunch of people who find it as a full-time job to become an advisor for us. So in this video, I'm going to share with you 5 fundamental things I really use on my day-to-day life to filter this advice, because most of the advice are pretty trash and only few advice are going to make a lot of difference, and the rest of the advice is quite confusing. What are you waiting for? Let's get started. Thank you. The first critical factor is about critical thinking. Oh, what is critical thinking? I got this one from Thinking Fast and Thinking Slow from the book. So this book has a lot of interesting things, but I'm not going to bore you with a lot of details about that one. So one of the things is about, it says this one, our brain has 2 types of system. One is a fast system and then the slow system as well too. So whenever I'm getting any advice, or I'm seeing any advice, or even listening any advice, normally I start with these 3 things. Number 1, the logic. Number 2, evidence, and number 3, the reasoning behind the advice. This is a very important thing. So normally logics and is the normally we follow through as well too. But evidence is a big matter for me as well too. So like a lot of people talk a lot about self-help, the thing, they're talking about a lot of cliche words, but they actually don't do that. Like an example, somebody as a life coach has a terrible career, or career coach has a terrible career, a marriage coach has a terrible marriage in their personal life. So it doesn't really make sense too. So whatever the people are talking about part of the thing, I always like to look into the evidence as well too. So that what really show me what kind of things they have done, and what kind of system they are talking about too. But here's the one factor. Normally human beings by natural are really good at giving advice rather than to giving advice to themselves. And that is a very interesting point, right? That's like the psychology of the thing. So now, the reasoning behind of it is the very one. And I find out that when I'm listening to other people, I find out a large portion of the people are actually completely ignoring that part, reasoning behind a thing. So I'm going to give you a very typical one. There's a lot of hype going on for last 10 to 15, even 20 years. They're talking about all about 9 to 5 is a bad thing, going to the work is a bad thing, working for a job is a bad thing, career is a slave, everybody hate their jobs. I find that a large portion of those people who are talking about this one for one reason. Basically, they are trying to sell me a course. So that is the one fundamental factor they want to do. They want me to stop my own job so I can come to him and spend my own money so they can teach me to do something else myself, or kind of start on with my own self-owner, or they are trying to make me an affiliate of them, which is a pretty bad thing as well too. Or for me, if I have a really good career, if somebody doesn't have any career and trying to get into a sales job or solopreneurship, probably makes sense. But for me, definitely not. Now I'll tell you another one. Entrepreneurship is a fun. If you want to get rich, you want to start your own businesses, you need to quit your jobs and start your business as early as possible. You need to take a lot of risk. Ding, ding, ding. Doesn't ring the bells. There's so many people are talking about this one. There's a lot of books about it. Lots of people are in the internet, in the social media platforms, YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, TikTok, everywhere. But now, when I look onto these people, there's 2 types of those people into it. So number 1 type of people is actually, they don't have any credibility. They're just trying to sell me a course. And another group of people who actually has quite a good of credible things. But now I see this one, what they're doing right now. So I see this one, most of the people are doing in their own venture capitalist job. They want to be an investor. They don't want to be an employee, or they want to start their own businesses. They don't want to run a company to put their heart and sweat into the company to build a company. So what they're doing right now, they're encouraging every people to quit the job and start their own company, and now they're coming to invest. This is ring the bell. All the sharks, all the entrepreneurs, the venture capitalists, they're all talking about it, encouraging people to quit the job and start their own entrepreneurship mission, taking all the risk. And then when they're successful, let's say you have to be at least $2 to $5 million revenue, then I will come to invest in you, probably. So now here's the thing. The reasoning all behind is about they're all creating this height of entrepreneurship to encourage people to quit the job and become an employee without any salary commitment of all those investors who are creating content and trying to convince people, you want to get rich, you're gonna quit the job and you're gonna start your own business. Damn! Entrepreneurship is not easy. It's actually pretty challenging into it. There's a lot of people who are successful, but think about those people, like 90% of the people who are unsuccessful. So normally in normal studies, about more than 90% entrepreneurs fail in the 2 to 3 years period of time. So what happens, those 90 people, they go back to their finding another job, and a small portion of them start a new entrepreneurship and probably also fail as well too. So now it's actually a very, very challenging space. But when those influencers, the sharks are all talking about starting your own business, starting your own business, get rich, and you want to get fast land, all kind of things, making people think that, oh, starting a career is really hard. Going to work is such a kind of a low-class thing, which is absolutely a big BS too. Because they're all encouraging people to become their employee, and when they're investor, they're not going to pay anything. They're just putting the money in the business, which is already they're completely thinking that you're going to make it work and you have the revenue already, and they're trying to take it more. So now you're doing all the rest by listening to them, and this is a great way for them to create kind of employees without any salary too. I love investing, but this is what I want to tell you up front. Maybe one day I will be also investing in companies that way or buying companies, but one thing I want to tell you right now, being in entrepreneurship, need a rock solid plan, read a rock solid character, rock solid skill set, and hundreds of the rock solid thing. So listening to those big influencers or venture capitalists and getting influence and quitting the job and jumping from the cliff is not a good idea. Most of the time it's a suicidal mission. That's the thing I want to do. So this is the reasoning behind of it, why they're giving you that advice to be watchful, and I love to get your watchful too. So this is my reason I use these 3 tactics to filter my critical thinking when I'm getting any advice. All right, number 2 filter is about expertise evaluation. So for this one, the book really helped me to build this idea of filtering this thing is about expert political judgment. How good is it? How can we know? So this is a pretty interesting book. You don't need to get to that details of the book, but I'm going to tell you so you can just apply it in your life and you can save all the hours of reading that book. So here's the point. Expert matters, but who has that expertise on that matter too? Somebody could be a super expert about something, but they could be completely noob about something. Like an example, when it comes to workforce transformation or digital transformation, it's my expertise. But when it comes to about flying the plane, I have zero expertise. I don't know how to fly the plane. So matter is about what advice I'm reasoning from what kind of expert matter the most. So normally we talk a little bit about few of the books which we call the T-shaped expertise. People need to know grossly, but one thing has to be very deep dive. And so for me, when I'm talking to someone and an expert, I want to immediately see this one. Where is that T-tail dropping? And anything else about that expert, I will not want to hear from that one too. So here is a one matter too. So whenever we are in a personal setting, in a family setting, we often are in love with our people. Like we are really near to us. We trust them because we know them. They really care about us, love us. But one of the biggest problem is about they give us advice and we just take it and we apply it. But we often ignore one thing is about, are they an expert about matter? Like an example, we often in a family member, we love each other, we care each other, we know that they're not gonna do anything bad thing to us. But one thing they can do bad thing to us, they can just give an advice which is not their area of expertise, and we just use it and then apply it and we get a bad result too. Or a small result too, and not fulfill to the potentials where we could go. So now this is the thing. That's why the second the filter for me is so much important for me. What advice I'm getting from and what expert they are and what is the area of expertise as well. All right, number 3 is a personal value alignment. So I think you already know this book from Stephen Covey, 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. After reading that book, I developed this filter which I use. So whenever I'm listening from an advice from someone, and immediately I like to understand that advice is also reflect to that person personal value aligned or not. That's my first thing. What they're speaking, do the same thing or not. Like an example, somebody's telling me, oh, don't drink alcohol, it's not really good for you and you should avoid it, but they are drinking. How many times we see the situation, a doctor say, oh, don't smoke, but they're actually a chain smoker. So now that kind of personal alignment with such kind of small setting often works, but when it comes to a business setting or what is any kind of critical setting, the people who are giving advices which is not aligned to the personal value often are pretty destructive, because this could be an idea can play into other people or opponent mind to just simply destroy them, which is very catastrophic too. So now my first layer is about, I'm gonna ask that person their advice to their personal value alignment, and then I'm gonna also check how it is aligned with my own personal value. And here's the thing, what I do is about, after taking the advice, I compare with my personal value alignment. If it's aligned, great, I put it on. And the second thing is about, can I integrate it on top of my existing personal value too? Can it just be an incremental model to increase that with my way or not? Or the second thing is about, do I need to throw any personal value which I already have to replace it, because it's so good and it's so valuable and it's going to be so powerful in my life too. So that's the few of the things I'm going to discuss on my side as well too, before I actually adapting to their own life. But I know it takes time. It sounds like a lot of thinking. Yes, the more we think, the better we become, right? Number 4, this is about risk assessment. So this is the one I picked up from the book called Anti-Fragile. So in the Anti-Fragile, the thing I have learned from it is about, there are 3 types of elements. 1 is fragile, number 2 is about robust, and number 3 is about anti-fragile. So the fragile one is the one which easily get broken, very easily. Like an example, a glass can be easily get broken. Robust, which is kind of strong, but it can be crashed. Like an example, a plastic cup is kind of robust, but I can still crash it. And the last one is about anti-fragile. So anti-fragile is something which actually get better when it get adversity. So like an example, our body immune system, the more we get sick, the better it becomes. The more bacteria and viruses it get faced into it, it get better and get stronger. So that is a typical example of our anti-fragile system. So now, when I'm getting any particular advice, I always like to compare it, where am I in that situation, and the advisor of that topic is in what topic, and what is the state is coming from as well too. So let me break it down. Let's say an example, setting up a new kind of venture capital is something. What is my situation about this one? Let's say I'm in a situation of robust situation right now, but somebody give me an advice about venture capitalists, and their present situation is more aligned to fragile. So now, as soon as I see this one, I am in a better situation than what they are, because I'm a robust already, and I'm listening from them is not going to be directly help me, because that kind of advice will probably inferior or even lower than what I'm expecting right now. The test number 2, if I get somebody's another advice which is actually aligned to me, so probably I can easily see this one, is there a better way I can do things better? Are there anything they're doing better, because so I can just get better too. So that's why, like an example, somebody want to get better in investing, listening to Warren Buffett could be cool, but he owns $100 billion business, and somebody is thinking about investing just a few $1,000s. Doesn't make any sense, because his advice will be completely different and broad and so much advanced to the level too, because it all depends on the level. So, and that level defines what levels of fragiles or robust or anti-fragile I'm into it. So now, let's say I'm going to do a venture capitalist again, and an advice I got, and I see they are in anti-fragile mode. So any advice they will give it to me will significantly increase my risk. because they are telling on the perspective of anti-fragile. So I'm going to be very conscious about it because I don't have an anti-fragile system. I'm very interested to see how they build an anti-fragile system. So to apply their advice in my system, first I need to become an anti-fragile first, and then I can apply the anti-fragile approaches to get better. So that's why risk management is, for me, is to identify what state I'm in, and then what advice or what I'm going to apply from and what it requires before I apply to my system as well. All right, number 5, the long-term thinking. Oh, sounds very simple, right? So I learned it from the book called Time Paradox. So when I'm taking any particular advice, I immediately thinking that what will be my first degree action about it. So from the neutral law, I truly understand and I believe this one, every action has an equal reaction into it. So, but in business setting or in real life situation, it can be even more. So like an example, whenever I take an action, there is a first degree reaction about it. And they have a second degree reaction about it too. And they even have a third degree reaction too. Even fourth degree reaction too. So now when I am defining those first degree, second degree, third degree reaction, means I'm actually seeing the long-term impact as well too. So now in any aspects, when I want to get better, or I want to change, and I'm getting an advice, immediately I'm thinking about what will be my first degree reaction if I apply to my system, second degree, third degree, and fourth degree too. Reaction doesn't mean only positive thing, but also the negative thing I'm going to assess as well too. So this is how I'm constantly filtering my advice to you, because now we're living like a storm of advice. So now you're probably thinking about how you can get better in your life too. So there is another video I can put on there, which I really used in my own life. You can check it out right now and you can apply in your life. So click the video right now. I'll see you there. All the best. We have some exciting plan for the next week. So don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss it out.